travelers, and welcome to Go See, Do Explore.
Here, we dive deep into the heart of travel, sharing hidden gems, unforgettable experiences, and the stories that make each destination unique.
Whether you're a seasoned traveler or dreaming of your next getaway, you're in the right place to get inspired.
I'm Christopher.
And I'm Ashleigh.
And together, we'll set the course for your next great adventure and discover the stories that make each place unforgettable.
It's time to go, see, and do more. Let's explore. Hello, everybody. We are back for another episode of the Go See, Do Explore podcast. And I think by the time this episode comes out, it will be meteorologically fall. So I thought we would talk about some of the best places to visit for fall colors. And instead of doing all the research myself, there was just a USA Today 10 Best poll that is the 10 best places to see fall colors in the United States. So we're going to talk about it. And Chris has never seen this list, so we're going to do the classic thing where I read the news and he reacts.
Yeah. That's what people are here for.
And we will put a link to this list in the show notes, too.
Sounds good.
I should mention that these USA Today 10 Best polls are popularity contests.
Yeah.
If you're not familiar. And so Michigan typically does pretty well in these polls.
They
I think
do.
We've got some
People who like to click things.
We've got people who like to click things. There are people that are passionate about Michigan, I guess. So just kind of keep that in mind when I'm going through this list here. But number 10 on the list is the Adirondacks in New York.
Okay. I've never been there. And I don't think you have either.
No, I've never been there. But I feel like when people talk about leaf peeping, that's a place
I think
that
you're
people
right.
go a lot. Especially people from New York City.
Yeah.
It's an easy trip to go. Is it upstate New York?
Yes, although I'm struggling to place it on the map.
I mean, the picture looks beautiful.
It looks really nice. Yeah.
Kind of like Finger Lakesy with some mountains and some water
Yeah.
and some trees that'll change color in the fall.
Yes.
Number 9 is another place we've never been. This is going to be a fun conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never been there. Mhm.
Yeah.
Number 9 is the Berkshires
Okay.
in Massachusetts, as opposed to the Workshires.
I know where the Berkshires are. I've seen it on a map, but yeah. I wonder, because leaf peeping, as you call it, is really popular on the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if this list is going to be driven by that.
Probably a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, you know what the list is, and I don't.
Because you think about kind of where the tradition comes from, is from the people in the cities kind of escaping the cities
Yeah.
in the fall to go someplace more scenic.
Having not seen this list, but hearing the first two places, I'm going to posit a theory. Can I posit a theory?
Okay.
Are you ready for me to posit?
Yes, pause it away.
Okay. I think that the best places to see fall colors on this list are by and large going to be places that are a few hours drive from a major urban center. So like not the middle of nowhere, Montana. And I think they are going to feature places with elevation so that you get like vistas, right? Because if the fall colors are all around you, but it's flat, that's not as cool as if you could see something in the distance. I also have a theory, although these two, I don't know if they fit, that many of these are going to have water as another contrasting element. And these places both have lakes. Like I saw that picture of the Adirondacks and there was a lake. So maybe to some degree they will all have water, but I'm just going to put that out there. We'll see how I do. That's my theory.
Number 8 is a place that we have been.
Okay.
We haven't been in the fall, though. And that is the Finger Lakes, New York.
Yeah, again, that makes sense. And I think that my theory is intact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's not it's a little far from New York City.
Yeah, it's not close to New York City, I'd say. It's closer to like Pittsburgh and Buffalo and even like Cleveland. It's more in that world, I'd say. Erie, Pennsylvania.
But it's a place that we love. Watkins Glen State Park is a great place to hike, and it'd be absolutely amazing to see that at the Gorge Trail in the fall colors.
I think I have a camping reservation for October.
We do have a camping reservation in October.
You don't need to cancel it.
Yes, we do.
But yeah, I like the idea of a fall hike through do they call it the Gorge Trail? Yeah, I like that idea.
Number 7, I think, is a place we've driven through, maybe? And that is Stowe, Vermont.
Stowe, like Stowe.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we've driven through it or not. That's really interesting, right? Where is it? I can tell you.
When I was doing research for this episode, this is one that came up in pretty much every list I saw. Is Stowe, Vermont.
Yeah, I feel like
probably a Boston escape.
I feel like this is the one on TV that you always hear people talking. Well, they talk about going to Vermont for. This is what I associate with leaf peeping in mass media.
Apparently, there are higher elevations like Mount Mansfield and Smuggler's Notch, so the leaves change a little sooner in the higher.
No,
elevations.
we haven't been through Stowe. We've only driven through southern Vermont, so no, we haven't. It's pretty close to Montreal, actually.
Number 6, I'm going to guess it's probably not too far from Stowe, Vermont, is the White Mountains of New Hampshire.
Yes. I'm trying to think if where we drove to New Hampshire was the White Mountains or not. I kind of don't think so. No, I think we were, again, farther south. The White Mountains, that's where, like, Mount Washington and stuff is, right? The presidential range? Yeah, it is. So, again, elevation.
Yep. And the article mentions unparalleled views from the Cannon Mountain Aerial Tramway, as
cool.
well as the Cancamungus Highway, the National Scenic Byway.
That sounds fun to say. And I love a good tramway.
Not sure if I pronounced that right. Cancamungus.
Oh, Mungus is better.
All right, it is time for a wine break.
Okay, let's take a wine break. We're back for the wine break. And I was actually just in our cellar earlier moving wine around, and we've got some new wines upstairs. Excited to try some of them. This one in particular is from Paso Robles. It's a region that we both really like and have never been to. I hope that someday we can go. But it's from Union Sacre, which is a winemaker there. And this is a Pinot Gris. Pinot Gris you may know as a white wine, Pinot Grigio or Pinot Grigio, the French name and the Italian name, respectively, for the same grape. But this is, well, it has the appearance of a rosé. And I remember the first time I saw a Pinot Grigio Rosé, and I was really confused because I thought it was a white grape. But maybe it's not. So let's try this, and then we'll talk a little bit more about it. It smells crazy to me. There's like a lot of aroma there. Let's see. Are we going to like this one or not? It's unfiltered.
Very tart.
Yeah, that's kind of a punchy wine. Like,
very fruity, but then I also get some minerality.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I almost expected to be sparkling, actually. It's not, but like it almost tastes like it should be.
Put it in the soda stream.
Or explode the soda stream. Yeah, so let me go back to the rosé thing. So, yeah, Pinot Gris has, I don't know if you'd call it a black skin, but it's not white. And so I've seen a lot more recently Pinot Gris Rosé, especially in Michigan. I've seen it. This one, they don't brand it as a rosé. They just say skin contact. And I feel like somewhere, it's not on the bottle. I don't see it on the bottle. But I feel like somewhere I saw it described as an orange wine. If you're not familiar with that term, it doesn't mean that it's literally made of oranges. It's basically if you take a white wine and then make it more like a red wine where you macerate it on the skins for a period of time. Sometimes as long as a red wine, but sometimes just for a couple hours, kind of like you would a rosé. It's not a traditional technique, at least not in mainstream winemaking. I can't speak to whether the Greeks were doing it or whatever, but mainstream winemaking that we're familiar with doesn't typically do that with white grapes because the skins of white grapes usually don't taste very good. But there have been exceptions to that, and it's a way to make a really interesting and kind of a different wine. That's clearly what they're going for here. And so I'm liking this. You like this?
Yeah, it's good for the weather. I mean, we mentioned that it is, I think, officially fall today, but you wouldn't know it outside. No one has told Mother Nature.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a good warm weather wine.
It's unfiltered, right? You can see like there's a little cloudiness in the bottom. The other thing I wanted to mention about this Union Sacre, we actually got 2 bottles from them. We had the other one Labor Day weekend, and it was Sangiovese, and it was a red. I wouldn't call it really a rosé, but it was a very light red, and they had put it through carbonic maceration, which is what is typically done with Beaujolais. It's the technique that Beaujolais is most famous for, where they put grapes that have been harvested into a tank in the absence of oxygen. And what happens is these grapes start to ferment, not due to any kind of a yeast, but due to the presence of carbonic acid. And so carbonic maceration is a very particular technique Beaujolais is known for, but you see people playing with that with other grapes these days. Like in Michigan, we've seen a couple of carbonic marquettes. They'll call it like Marquette Nouveau or something like that in the style of Beaujolais Nouveau. Nouveau. But the Sangiovese was like that too, and it was really awesome. I kind of want to pick up some more of that one too. So yeah, Union Sacra, one to check out. And if you're not familiar with Paso Robles, California as a wine region, I've never had a bottle from there I didn't like. It's definitely one that I want to get out to one of these days.
I don't know if we've mentioned this before. I know in the last episode when we were talking about different wineries, I don't think we actually did mention any wine clubs that we're in. But one wine club that we are in is at a local wine shop. And every month they feature a different region, a different winemaker, or like a different collection of wines. And we get 2 wines every month. And so that's how we find some of these things that we wouldn't otherwise have found. So if you are someone that's into wine and trying different wines, I would definitely look and see if you have a local wine shop that does something similar.
Definitely. Okay. Good wine break. We'll go back to the list now.
Number 5 on the list is a place that we have been, I think would be another awesome place to visit during fall colors, and that is Hocking Hills, Ohio.
Yeah, Hocking Hills is a lot like Watkins Glen, and in fact, I think it's the same geological feature, just in a different part of the country, but yeah.
The North Country Trail runs through both.
That's right. Yeah, we should do some podcasts on the North Country Trail, like on the North Country.
We should be walking and doing.
And yeah. Anyway.
Hocking Hills is a really cool place. When we were there, we did quite a few hikes on our first day, and then I feel like it was a Monday that was our last day there. We went to Old Man's Cave, which is the big...
That's the famous one.
Yeah, the famous hiking trail in Hocking Hills. And when we were there, it was like misting a little, and it gave it this like really otherworldly feel that was unlike any place I feel like we've been before or since. Like, Watkins Glen, the Gorge Trail, had a similar feel, but the foggy haziness really added something. So I can only imagine how cool it would be in that area with the leaves being a color other than green.
And we had not yet been to Watkins Glen when we went there, so that was our first experience with that kind of a thing, and it was really cool.
Hocking Hills has 2 big festivals in the fall. One of them is the Bob Evans Farm Festival.
Cool. Bob Evans, famously from Ohio.
Mm-hmm. And the Circleville Pumpkin Show. But I just thought it was interesting that there's a Bob Evans festival, like the restaurant has a festival.
Do you think they eat sausage gravy? It's like a 5K probably, right? They have to run and eat sausage gravy.
And then everyone vomits at the end. Yay!
Well, they do that Krispy Kreme thing in Raleigh. It can't be that different to down some sausage
I don't know, sausage gravy has got the dairy in there.
That's true.
I mean, maybe dairy doesn't affect other people like it affects me, but I'm not going to be eating a bunch of it and then running.
That's almost too much information.
You know what's not on the list? So we were in Kentucky, and our friend recommended that we visit Natural Bridge. It's a really cool park in Kentucky, which is not on the list, but we actually visited during fall colors, and it was really beautiful. But we got excited, and we saw it was a cookout, right? Which is a fast food restaurant that
we don't have around here.
We don't have around here, but we had visited a few times in North Carolina.
One of my favorites.
And they're known for their milkshakes, at least to your uncle. And so we got milkshakes.
Hey, he might listen.
Yeah.
Shout out to Uncle Roy if you're listening.
We got milkshakes, and then we did the hike wrong. We went up to Natural Bridge on the hike that the park recommends you take down because it's so steep, and I thought I was going to vomit. So yeah, Natural Bridge and a milkshake is not a good combination.
Yeah.
We made it, and I didn't vomit.
The people needed to know.
But yeah, when we got home, I was writing a blog post. I did some research, and it's Kentucky parks recommend that you do this trail on the way down.
No, I think we might have even realized it when we were there.
Oh, but it was we would have had to turn around and...
Well, we were I think when we got up to the top or something like that.
It was the trail that we took down was so much flatter than the one we took up. That's what it was.
We did it exactly backwards.
Yep.
It was fine.
like I said, I didn't vomit.
Yeah, in the end, it was fine.
All right, number 4 on the list. We actually may have driven through here, but it is the Blue Ridge Mountains in Georgia. We've driven the Blue Ridge Parkway.
Yeah.
That's not in Georgia.
No. I don't know that we've been to the Blue Ridge in Georgia. I kind of don't think so.
I was surprised to see a place down south so high on the list, but I guess it's probably an Atlanta escape.
That makes sense. And with mountains, you've got the views, and I'm sure it's the right kind of trees, the deciduous trees that are going to do this.
There's a lot of apple picking, and there is a fall foliage train ride that you can take in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Georgia.
I'm always up for a train ride.
Number 3 on the list is a place that we've wanted to visit for a while.
Okay.
And that is Hot Springs, Arkansas.
Yeah, for sure. I look at this all the time. There's actually, what I really want to do is there's someone who flies an essential air service route and like these like prop planes. So it's really slow, but you can fly it from like Nashville or from Dallas, I think, are the two ends. And I think that would be really super cool to go to Hot Springs that way. But regardless, I would really like to go to Hot Springs.
Hot Springs is home to Hot Springs National Park, so that's probably the big draw to the area.
But it's a really unconventional national park if you're not familiar with Hot Springs National Park. It's like the preservation of a city. So there are hiking trails and things like that, but it's not really that kind of a national park. It's like old buildings and these old baths from a time when people thought that was like the best way to be healthy was to take baths in mineral water or whatever, right? But they had that. Watkins Glen was like that too. We mentioned Watkins Glen earlier. It was the same thing. But yes, it's like old buildings and old baths, and you can, to this day, I think, go get like sprayed with water and stuff. And then
it's a place that if you're looking for fall colors kind of later in the season.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Late October, early November are kind of the prime times to visit. Probably, I would imagine, with the Blue Ridge Mountains as well. So kind of like you were expecting, it's mountains.
Yes.
So the Ouachita Mountains is where you're going to see the color the most. There is the Grand Promenade National Recreation Trail. And then you can also go to the Hot Springs Mountain Tower, which overlooks the national park. Mm-hmm. It seems like a pretty cool place. It doesn't seem like there's water there, at least not from the picture. The picture is an old one.
I mean, there's at least one hot spring.
There is a hot spring, but I think now it goes into a building.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay.
Number 2 is a place that we have been, but we have not spent much time there. And that is the Laurel Highlands of Pennsylvania.
Oh, yeah, we spent there mostly at night.
Yes, yeah, I think. But we walked around like in the morning to go to the bathroom, and they're like, "Oh, this is kind of a cool place."
And then we drove out of there.
Is it Laurel Hill State Park? Is that where?
It sounds right. Yeah, that was a nice area. I kind of forget about that because we stopped there to camp on the way to the Outer Banks of North Carolina one time. So it was just a stop. Like we just got out, set up the tent in the rain, jumped in the tent, got out, made coffee the next morning, and then left. Mm-hmm. And I lost, I think, my shower shoes there. So if anyone picked up my shower shoes, get in touch. It was only like 7 years ago or whatever. But yeah, I would like to go back there. Actually, we should get that on the list.
It's in the middle of the Allegheny Mountains, so mid-October is kind of when you're going to see the best colors. There's hiking and biking trails, and including a portion of the Great Allegheny Passage. And there's many fall festivals each October.
Yeah, we should go back there.
Yeah, it was a place, especially that campground was really nice.
It was really nice.
And I feel like we probably didn't book it that far in advance.
And maybe I could find my shower shoes.
All right. Number 1, I think we're going to have a lot of opinions on, and that is the Upper Peninsula of Michigan.
That's huge. That's like saying Vermont. It might be bigger than Vermont.
So there's 7 million acres of forest and 3 different Great Lakes. You'll see changing leaves. Typically, I think the beginning of October is typically when that starts. 1,500 miles of driving to see. But like you said, it's enormous. From, we talk about Michigan all the time and the UP all the time. But, from St. Ignace, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, Mackinac Island, Tequamanon Falls, Sault Ste. Marie. We did a fall colors, I'm going to say in quotes, fall colors trip to Tequamanon Falls. Gosh, it was probably like 8 years ago now. The first weekend in October, because that was when all the predictors said it would be the best fall colors. And we got there and it was still totally green. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Like, oh, there's like one leaf I see that's yellow. Mm-hmm.
There were some leaves on the ground.
There were some leaves on the ground. That was
colors.
the iconic fall picture we got that year.
Yeah.
But then obviously you can go farther west. We've got Pictured Rocks, which is gorgeous. Escanaba. I don't know if we've ever talked on the podcast about Fayette Historic State Park.
No. We'll do that another time for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Go over to Marquette, Houghton.
Yeah.
Porcupine Mountains.
I really thought it was going to be, and you had kind of hinted that there was some talk about Mackinac Island, but before you did that, I really thought it was going to be Munising, because I know that Munising has been recognized. And I think the reason why Munising, which is a city in the Upper Peninsula, is so popular, apart from Pictured Rocks, which is very scenic, is that all of Munising is kind of this, like, bowl. Like, when you're in Munising, you're surrounded by these ridges, and so you can go pretty much in any direction up from the city, and you've got a really, really cool view of like this bowl of leaves, and then Lake Superior and Grand Island. So I thought for sure it'd be Munising. I love the UP. I feel like saying the whole UP is kind of like, obviously it won because there are so many places like that you could go. And Houghton too. Houghton's another one of those where it's got this river in the middle. Well, Houghton's on one side, Hancock's on the other side, but there's a river in the middle, and then Houghton and Hancock, these two cities, are on these kind of rather steep embankments that go down to the river. And so you've got, again, this sort of V shape where you're looking at something really interesting.
I'm trying to remember where I saw it, because a few days ago, before I looked at this, I knew that the results for this survey were coming out soon. Mm-hmm. And I swear somebody announced that Mackinac Island was the second best place for fall colors, but I have no idea by whom.
Yeah.
Who voted that, who decided that, and I don't have the time to dig for it.
Yeah. I'm sure it's nice. That's not really what I would pick. Like, it's just kind of a flat island, mm-hmm. right? So, I mean, I'm sure it's nice.
Mm-hmm.
But
I would like to go there in the fall. Years and years ago, we went to Munising for
mm-hmm.
a fall colors trip, and somehow we were not prepared about the temperature.
Yeah, it was cold.
It was real cold. We ended up buying clothes at the Tequamanon Falls Visitor Center.
Yeah.
I don't know what the weather was like in East Lansing at the time.
It was a lot warmer. It was because I think I had looked at the weather for East Lansing and packed accordingly, which was dumb.
Right. That's what happens when you're a college student.
Yeah, wouldn't do that anymore.
But yeah, there's a lot in the UP. And I remember maybe 10 years ago now, there was an article about fall colors in the UP, maybe in like the New York Post or something like that. I feel like it was geared towards New Yorkers, saying like,
go to Munising. It was
it was Munising specific.
I feel like it was Munising specific.
It was like, those number 9, number 10 places that we just mentioned, don't go there because all the people are there. Go to the UP and have it to yourself.
Yeah. And Munising has really transformed since that moment. As I think we mentioned in one of the bucket list episodes, it's actually quite busy now, but it wasn't so busy back then. Yeah,
and there's like decent restaurants to eat at now.
Yeah.
I think it was 2 Labor Days ago, we went up to Tequamanon Falls, and we were surprised by all the delicious food options up there. It's not just like...
Oh, in Paradise.
Yeah.
Yeah, Paradise, like a city...
Laker bars anymore.
There was like the one restaurant for... Paradise is this little like intersection, basically, but it's on the eastern side of Tequamanon Falls State Park, and you drive through it if you're going to Tequamanon Falls or if you're going up to Whitefish Point as well. And yeah, we had some good food there.
Yeah. So yeah, I was excited to see that the Upper Peninsula was in the first place.
It's of course the right choice. I mean,
it's funny to me though that it was like Stowe, Vermont,
yeah.
Finger Lakes, New York, which is a larger region, but the UP is much larger.
Yeah.
But with that rating, we mentioned that Munising is busy now. Mackinac Island is going to be busy. But there are lots of other places in the UP where you can go and there will be no one else around. Go to the Pretty Lakes Quiet area we mentioned on the last episode.
True. Or I would say, honestly, because Houghton is kind of a reach for a lot of people. It's pretty far. Unless you live in Minnesota or something, it's pretty far. But you can fly there from Chicago. So if you can get to Chicago pretty easily, you can fly. That would be a good way to get up there.
And not just be stuck in the... the St. Ignace area. Although we like the St. Ignace area, and we're going to talk about it in a little bit.
Yeah, you really can't go wrong. But, yeah, I would think about maybe the Keweenaw. Brockway Mountain Drive. great place for views.
And that's probably going to be peak fall colors like the day this comes out.
Yeah.
Since it's so far north.
Get your ticket right now.
But you can plan for next year.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, that's the top 10 places to visit in the U.S. according to readers of USA Today and people who like to click things.
That's right. All your friendly bots.
Be sure to continue listening because we're going to talk about our experiences in Labor Day in the UP.
That's right.
Just after the break. So on our last episode, we talked about our adventures in the UP and the northern lower peninsula over Labor Day weekend. And today we wanted to talk about what we did on Labor Day itself.
Yes. This is maybe one of my favorite things that we do all year.
So we mentioned in the last episode that we were staying at Strait State Park in St. Ignace, and there is a reason for that. It's very strategic.
Yes.
Do you want to explain what that reason is?
Right. So every year since 2021, we've done the Bridge Walk, which is literally a walk over the Mackinac Bridge. If you don't know the Mackinac Bridge, it's a long suspension bridge. The total span is about 5 miles, and it connects the lower and upper peninsulas of Michigan. It was built in the 50s. It was an engineering feat at that time. For a long time, it was the longest suspension bridge in the world. It has since been surpassed in a lot of ways, but it remains the longest span between anchors in the Western Hemisphere. So, significant bridge, and it's a symbol of Michigan. It's something that we like to put on things, and we're proud of the engineering that accomplished it. And so when the bridge first opened in the 50s, that event was celebrated by the governor of Michigan and a bunch of people walking from one end to the other. That then became a Labor Day tradition, and with the exception of 2020, has happened every year since the bridge opened. And this year, there were 40,000 people, so it's quite popular, but it's really fun. You'd think that a 5-mile bridge would be kind of boring, but I think with so many people, like, there's just a lot visually going on, and it's very scenic. You're standing over the Straits of Mackinac, very high up, and it's just, I don't know, I love doing it.
The first time we did it, well, the first time we wanted to do it, which I think was, did we figure out was 2018, 2019?
That sounds right. I think it was 18.
And they used to do a thing where you would walk from one side of the bridge to the other, and then they would bring you back by shuttle. But since then, they have shut the bridge to all traffic after there was some terrorist attack where somebody was run over. Yeah. And they just decided for safety's sake, there's going to be no vehicles except for police vehicles on the bridge during the bridge walk.
That year, they had already shut traffic. They just had the shuttles. But I think what has happened is there are just too many people.
Right.
They just can't shuttle 40,000 people from one end to the other. They can't do it.
Right. So in 2018, 2019, whatever we just decided that was, we were going to do it. We were camping at Wilderness State Park, which is the state park kind of near Mackinac City, which is at the southern end of the bridge. And we waited in line for the shuttles, and then we realized that we just weren't going to get there in time. We just weren't going to make it. So ever since then, we have camped in St. Ignace, which allows you to walk right from the campground to the bridge, cross the bridge. Once you get across the bridge, there's no, unless you are what they call a double crosser, there is no way to get back to where you started. So nowadays you have the option to walk halfway across the bridge and then turn around and go back, which Chris thinks doesn't count.
No, it's not that it doesn't count. It's just not what I want to do. I mean, it counts, I guess. It's just not what I want to do.
So since 2021, we have crossed the entire bridge from St. Ignace, and then we get on a Mackinac Island ferry, go spend a few hours on Mackinac Island, and then take the ferry back to the Upper Peninsula, which we should probably mention that they close the bridge. So from, I think, 6 a.m. to noon, there is no crossing the Mackinac Bridge. So you have to plan accordingly on Labor Day. If you're planning to cross the bridge, you either get through before 6 a.m. or you get through afternoon. And I would imagine that even 1 o'clock, there's probably still a backup. So our plan is usually to hang out at Mackinac at the island for for a little bit and let that traffic kind of die down before we collect the camper and head home. Like Chris mentioned, it doesn't feel that long. I don't know why it doesn't feel that long, especially because there's a part of it that you're going up. There's an incline. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you feel tired at the end, but it's never like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to make it.
Yeah, well, a 5-mile walk for us is not really an issue, but I just know that when you walk somewhere where you can pretty much see the end from the beginning, it can get really monotonous, right? Like lack of change in what you see. But I think because there are so many people, I think that's what's going on there.
Yeah, there's a lot of people going in the other direction, especially since we start at St. Ignace, especially once you get to that midpoint, because a lot of people do start at Mackinac, go halfway, and then turn around. So it gets really busy in the second half.
Yeah.
But it's been a fun tradition, and it's something we look forward to. This year, the walk was a little shorter for us because, so we've mentioned that, you walk and then you get on a ferry. I don't want to get into the ferry drama too much, but we used to always walk down to the Starline docks. But this year, Starline was purchased by Sheplers, which is the other Mackinac Island ferry company. We won't get into why we don't like it and why that is upsetting. But the good thing about it, they were not operating Starline at the time. So we typically, the last 3 years, we used to have to walk an additional mile once we got to Mackinac City to get to the Starline ferry dock because they offer a Black Friday deal of buy one, get one free.
Yeah, buy one, get one ferry tickets. So
Yes.
we buy those
So we would
year.
buy them on Cyber Monday or whatever it is. But this year, Sheplers was the only option. And the good thing with that is that the Shepler dock is right next to the base of the bridge. Or not right next to, but it's much closer to the base of the bridge. So
it's
it
right
got like a mile off of our walk.
It's right next to the bakery, which is another important part of our tradition. We made a video of this too, so if our videos ever come out, you'll get to see this. But there's a bakery right by the Shepler dock.
I feel like it's called like the Mackinac Tea Company and Bakery or something like that. Like tea is very heavy in the name.
Yeah. But we always stop there because they have these peanut butter donuts that are like you do the bridge walk and then you get a peanut butter donut.
That's
and then
the reward for doing the bridge
Yeah,
walk. We
and then you get on the boat.
never get those donuts any other time, so it's a treat.
Well, we're never really there any other time. Otherwise, we might get them. But
No, it's a Labor Day tradition.
Yeah.
It's the only time you can get it.
yeah,
So you kind of refuel after your 5-mile walk, and then you get on a ferry and go to the island. There are no cars on Mackinac Island, so the only way to get around is by horse, your own 2 feet, or a bike. And a big thing to do is to rent a bike and drive the circumference of the island. It's about 8.2 miles. Obviously, after walking 5-6 miles, it's never like, yes, I want to do 8 more.
Yeah.
So we've the last few years, we've kind of stayed more in the downtown area. And it's actually kind of been a while for us. It's been it's been about 4 years since we've
we've done the tandem.
Yeah, since we've been to the kind of the back end of the state park and the, what is it called, like British Landing, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But this year, we decided this is something we've done before, but we've never been able to be the drivers. We went down to Jack's Livery Stables, which is, if you're familiar with Mackinac Island, it's on the way to the Grand Hotel. I think it's the Gatehouse restaurant that's run by the Grand Hotel. It's not far from there is Jack's Livery Stables, and you can rent a horse to like ride a horse through the state park, but they also rent drive yourself carriages.
Mm-hmm.
So we did this a couple years ago. I'm talking a lot. Do you want to talk about it?
Sure. So yeah, we rented a carriage with a horse. The horse's name was Dan.
Dan was a local celebrity.
Dan was a local celebrity. He also was a little bit sassy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was an hour tour, and you can do longer ones too. And we might do a longer one sometime. But they teach you how to drive. It's pretty easy. Like the horse knows the way pretty much. So it's not, you don't have to be super skilled at driving a carriage for this to work. And you drive around the island for an hour or for 2 hours and get to experience what that's like.
The only problem is when the horse is like, no, I'm not going that way. And
That
then he just sits
happens.
there and goes, nay.
That happened twice with Dan. Yeah, we convinced him eventually.
He's like, no, I want to go this way that it says is a one-way road. Let me go that way.
Yeah,
Even though I'm not supposed to. Let me go that way.
yeah. But it's really fun.
Yeah, it's a fun thing to do. Definitely something you can't do a lot of places. I don't know very many people who have driven their own carriages.
No.
And especially after, a 5-mile walk when you don't want to then ride a bike for 8 miles. It's a good alternative. And it's an alternative to the big Mackinac carriage tour company.
Which is also great.
Which is great, but you're loading a lot of people onto a carriage. And, this is kind of something you would do by yourself, which is kind of cool.
If it was your first time on Mackinac Island, I would probably choose that first. Because they give you a tour and all
the
that.
History, and you learn a little bit about the Native American culture and the legends of the various sites on the island. But yeah, once you've been a few times, I think the drive yourself carriage is a fun option.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not cheap, but it's not crazy expensive. It's definitely more expensive than renting two bikes or a tandem.
It's a sometimes activity.
Cookies are a sometimes food. And then another part of this Mackinac Island Labor Day tradition is after we do whatever activity, we go have lunch at the Pink Pony. The Pink Pony is, would you say, your favorite restaurant at Mackinac Island?
I think so. I'm not thinking about it too hard, but it's where we go the most.
Yeah, we definitely go there the most. It is a waterfront restaurant in the Chippewa Hotel, which the Chippewa is also our favorite hotel, mostly because they have the best rates, honestly. Like, maybe their rooms are small. I don't know.
It's in a great spot,
It's in a great spot right at the ferry dock for Starline, rest in peace. And
yes.
And you just have a really cool view looking out over the state harbor there where the boats are coming and going. And yeah, it's a great spot. The food's great. Great spot to have a little drink after all of your exertion of the bridge walk.
Yes. Yeah, I like it there a lot.
They have a rosé called Pink Pony Rosé that's really good. But yeah, and then from there we usually head back and
drive 4.5 hours home.
And cross our fingers that there's not too much holiday traffic.
Yeah, this past time was not bad.
No. So I guess that's our Labor Day, St. Ignace to Mackinac City to Mackinac Island back to St. Ignace tradition.
Yes.
If you are able to make it to the Labor Day Bridge Walk starting either in St. Ignace or Mackinac City, it's a really cool experience, and it doesn't feel like you're walking 5 miles. So yeah, we recommend it.
It's really fun.
It's a kind of a once-in-a-lifetime experience, I think, for a lot of people. But then there's also a lot of people, that collect their patches and they wear their denim vest with their patches from every year since the 80s or whatever.
Yeah. I plan on doing it basically every year that I can going forward. I'm sure there will probably be some year in the future that I can't do it. But by and large, yeah, I like to keep doing it.
It's a great tradition, and we recommend it. Be one of the 40,000.
That's all for today's episode of Go, See, Do, Explore. Thank you for joining us and sharing in the wonder of travel.
Keep the spirit of today's adventure alive by checking out our blog at goseedoexplore.com for even more travel inspiration.
Don't forget to rate and review us wherever you listen to your podcasts. It really helps fellow travelers find us and join our community.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep dreaming, and keep traveling by any means necessary.
I'm Christopher.
And I'm Ashleigh, bidding you farewell and happy exploring.